NATO troops are currently heading to Ukraine now. They won't be fighting, but will be ensuring peace. And it seems that this decision has finally been made.
Georgia in 2008, Crimea in 2014. There is complete confidence that if any peace deal is made without security guarantees, Russia will never respect its own words, will never fulfill its own obligations. So for us, this is absolutely critical.
As of now, about 10 countries are ready to send their peacekeeping forces. Bloomberg reported this. Also, on August 19th, there was an online meeting of European leaders where the plan to send British and French troops to Ukraine as part of a future peace agreement was discussed. Among the issues discussed were the number and deployment of troops.
They were deceived. They were just blatantly lied to.
Which countries' representatives might go to Ukraine after the peace agreement? What are the nuances of these security guarantees, and how is this news being received in Russia? All of this coming up in just a moment. During the meeting in Washington, Trump stated that the Russian dictator allegedly agreed to security guarantees for Ukraine. Whether this means he agreed to peacekeepers remains an open question. But Medvedev has already started to panic. And when he panics, all he can do is resort to insults. This time, his insults were directed at the president of France.
The brainless Gallic rooster just can't give up on the idea of sending troops to Ukraine. It was stated clearly, no NATO peacekeepers. Russia will not accept such security guarantees. But the hoarse, pathetic bird keeps crowing, trying to prove it's the king of the hen house.
But the Russian Federation has no options left. There will be peacekeepers.
Security guarantees from Western countries for Ukraine, including the possible deployment of troops to our territory, are one of the things that irritate Putin. Moreover, it's such a serious irritant in the sense that Russians react very nervously to these things. Although, as Trump said during the meeting in Washington, and as the Russians indirectly essentially confirmed, Putin supports the idea of providing guarantees for Ukraine. But there's a nuance here. You can't be only somewhat committed, you can't support some guarantees but not others. Ukraine is a sovereign state, an independent country, and it will decide for itself what to do in this particular case. And therefore, if Ukraine makes such a decision, and it will make such a decision, these troops will be stationed on our territory.
Which countries are ready to send their troops is not yet known for certain. However, a few days ago, Lithuania declared its readiness to send its troops to Ukraine. The advisor to the Lithuanian president, Dainius Žykevičius, said that his country is ready to send as many peacekeepers as it did to Afghanistan.
Lithuania has made its decision. The specific numbers are being discussed. I will not disclose them, but it is probably appropriate to imagine our contribution in Afghanistan as a reference. We will move in a similar direction.
If that's the case, we're talking about several hundred Lithuanian peacekeepers. Previously, Austria also did not rule out participating in a potential peacekeeping mission. However, they say the issue will depend on the mission's mandate.
For 6 decades, the Austrian armed forces have demonstrated their readiness and, of course, their ability to participate in large-scale international operations. In the specific case of a peacekeeping mission in Ukraine, everything will depend on the specific mandate, on the possibilities for our participation, and on whether our experience will be needed at all. But I do not rule out the possibility of our participation in peacekeeping operations in Ukraine if it comes to that.
Estonia is also ready to send a company of peacekeeping forces to Ukraine. This was officially announced by the country's prime minister. But they believe it is too early to discuss the details of this peacekeeping mission.
Right now, we are at the stage of preparing for a meeting between the presidents of Ukraine and Russia. If it takes place, then in theory, a trilateral meeting could follow. Only then can this process be set in motion.
A similar statement was made in Latvia. There, they also consider such discussions premature. At the same time, unlike Estonia, when asked about the possible deployment of Latvian soldiers, the president of Latvia replied that this is decided by the Saeima, and before that, it is discussed in the Cabinet of Ministers and in the National Security Council. But those who are ready to discuss and are urging everyone else to do so are France and Britain. They are already not just talking about the possibility, but are discussing the number of troops and their deployment. About a month ago, Macron announced an increase in the number of expeditionary forces to 50,000 soldiers for a future presence in Ukraine. The British and French military will likely serve as the backbone among the peacekeepers. But there is a nuance here. As The Guardian reports, London is not ready to send its soldiers to the front line, but they will help protect the skies and ports. As for German peacekeepers, it is likely not worth expecting them at all. Perhaps this decision will change in the future. However, for now, Germany is focused on supplying weapons to Ukraine.
The Germans are not preparing for this yet either. There was a corresponding statement from the relevant minister. But if you listen to Merz, things don't seem so clear-cut. Perhaps they will come to the conclusion that some of their military units should be present in Ukraine. On the other hand, the Germans are providing significant assistance with weapons, including through joint production of this equipment.
The situation is similar in the United States. The Americans are also ready to provide security guarantees, not just in words, but they will not send their troops.
When it comes to security, the Europeans are willing to put boots on the ground. We are ready to help them with various issues, especially most likely from the air, because no one else has what we have, and neither do they.
And while such security guarantees are certainly encouraging right now, there are still many issues to be resolved. In particular, how potential peacekeepers will respond if they are attacked, and how such actions will be interpreted.
For example, we have an airfield, let's not name it, that is constantly under attack by Russian aviation. And so we make a decision that, in fact, to be honest, it's the best prepared airfield in Ukraine for receiving NATO aircraft. And then a decision is made that some kind of peacekeeping mission will be deployed there at that base. And for example, the British flag will be raised there. If this facility is bombed, even if there are just 2 British representatives, or 3, I don't know, then damage to that flag and the threat to those people's lives, would that be considered an attack on Ukraine or an attack on the peacekeeping contingent?
There are a lot of such questions, and they are probably being discussed right now. When there are more details, we will definitely share them with you. We will definitely tell you about it. In the meantime, write in the comments how you generally feel about the deployment of peacekeepers in Ukraine and which other countries, in your opinion, might send their peacekeeping forces. Share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our Arsenal channel so you don't miss out on all the most interesting updates.
The US President Donald Trump's special representative for Ukraine, Keith Kellogg, will visit Kiev for the country's Independence Day. According to Suspilne, citing sources, the visit will take place between August 24th and 25th. His agenda includes a meeting with the President of Ukraine, Volodymyr Zelensky, as well as participation in a prayer breakfast. In addition, Trump's personal spiritual advisor, Pastor Evangelist Mark Burns, will also come to Kyiv. On X, he announced that he is traveling from South Korea to Ukraine. As stated by the first deputy head of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Ukraine, Serhiy Kislitsia, Volodymyr Zelensky is ready to discuss the issue of territories along the current front line, but only during a bilateral meeting with Putin. According to him, regarding the territorial issue, the president is guided by current legislation and public opinion, and society is categorically opposed to exchanging Ukrainian land for peace. The head of state himself, during events marking Ukraine's State Flag Day, stated that he would not give Ukrainian land to the occupiers. Meanwhile, as the Times reports, Western allies, together with the Trump administration, are developing a plan to ensure Ukraine's security. In particular, military leaders are considering 4 options for security guarantees. Among the possible scenarios is the training of troops in Ukraine by European allies. This mission will be accompanied by arms deliveries. The coalition also intends to patrol Ukraine's skies using fighter jets, as well as to ensure the security of shipping in the Black Sea. The second option involves air defense. With limited guarantees from the US, Europe will focus on aerial patrols and drone reconnaissance. The third option is to extend the application of NATO's Article 5 to Ukraine. Another scenario envisions a bilateral mutual defense treaty with the United States. This format has already been implemented in America's relations with Japan and South Korea.